Hi, this is Mike Holler, MPG Mike, and welcome to installment number 1 of MPG Basics online training course. Now, if this were a book, you would be getting in installment 1 the acknowledgments page, the introduction, and the table of contents. I wanted to take a few minutes and I wanted to let you get to know me a little bit better, and hopefully I can get a chance to get to know you better as well. Now, I got involved with fuel economy out of necessity. Back in 1991, I was driving 51 miles each way back and forth to work. At the end of the week, when I put gas in the tank, there wasn't a whole lot of paycheck left over for me. So I started doing some of the basic things, ignition maintenance, MSD box, and I didn't get a whole lot of results. It helped a little, but not much. And I was working as a mechanic, and my boss at the time told me about the front page of the Harrisburg Patriot News, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. He said there was a car, Oldsmobile Tornado. They had it on the front, and it was just smoke in the front tires in the picture, so much that you could barely make out the car outline itself. The headline read, "This car gets 72 MPG." Boy, did he ever get my attention. A full-size Olds Tornado, 455 V8, 72 miles per gallon. I said, "Tell me more, tell me more." He said, I can't remember anything. "Oh, man, wait a minute, he says. In there, he said that anybody who fully understands how an engine works and understands what a carburetor is supposed to do should be able to replicate my results, even though the hardware will probably look different." Well, I took that as a challenge. I was a mechanic. I rebuilt engines. I rebuilt carburetors. I knew how they worked. So I thought. I mean, I couldn't get 72 miles per gallon out of my little 6-cylinder Dodge, let alone an Oldsmobile Tornado. So what I did, now remember, 1991, this is pre-internet. I went to the library, and of course they didn't have any books on fuel economy. Even today they don't exist out there. But I went and I started opening up encyclopedias. And I read up on the internal combustion engine. I read up on carburetors, fuel injection, petrochemistry, the refining process, gasoline. And in an encyclopedia, when you read through a subject, at the end it says, "See also." And I would go and I would read the "See also." And at the library, I had access to 5, sometimes 7 different encyclopedia sets. So I'd read what this encyclopedia had to say about gasoline, then that encyclopedia, and I would go down through the list. Well, over time, I amassed a lot of the science and the physics behind how an engine works. At that time, I started formulating ideas on how I could improve fuel economy. Well, one fateful evening, I was in the hospital in the emergency ward waiting room. An elderly friend of mine had been rushed there. She was in the emergency room. I'm reading through magazines, and at the back of a Popular Mechanics, I saw an ad, 200 mile per gallon carburetor secrets revealed. H&A Industries, Bowling Green, Missouri. I bit. Now, again, I'm in the waiting room. I quietly tore out the ad, stuck it in my wallet. No, I still have that ad. Yes, I do. And then I sent off a lot of money over the next couple of months, all the free spare change I had in my paycheck. And I started reading about Charles Pogue, Tom Ogle, Baldwin, Ney, Covey, a whole bunch of different inventors who were getting 50, 80, 100 miles per gallon out of big full-size cars at the time. And I read what they built, what they did, and what their claims were, and how they proposed that all this worked. And I started building stuff. And I must confess, the first thing I built, I could barely get the engine to run. And so I pulled it off, rethought things through a little bit, and I learned. And then I built a second gadget, and I put it on. And it ran like garbage. I was the only person in the whole world who could drive this car because it was just that cantankerous. But I got 60 miles per gallon out of my 70 Plymouth Duster. That impressed me. That woke me up. That said, yes, this can be done. I proceeded to build another couple of devices, and I actually got it up to, I think, a best of 92.8 miles per gallon. No power. Again, there's levers, switches, gadgets, gauges. I was the only person in the world that could drive it. Well, after all of that fun and interesting and exciting testing, I decided to go back to a carburetor. I wanted a car my wife could drive. Does that make sense to you? Especially if you're a husband? No, especially if you're the wife. I wanted a car my wife could drive, so I put the carburetor back on. Then I started modifying the carburetor. I learned some things besides building your own homemade fuel vapor delivery system. And I got the car up to a best of 29.8, I think it was. I was introduced to a product called the power plate. You unbolt the carburetor, you slide that plate underneath and bolt it all back together again. The power plate was heated by engine coolant. It had little tapered cones underneath the throttle bores, and there were screw threads turned into it. The sales guy, the inventor, kind of convinced me that it was just the best thing since sliced bread, and it was affordable, so I bought. And then I bolted it on. I went from a best of 29.85 miles per gallon to a best of 44.7. I was impressed. But you know what really tripped my trigger? Performance went up. That's right. I was getting better fuel economy, but I was also getting a tremendous increase in performance. That's where I started realizing combustion efficiency. What is combustion efficiency? It's converting the chemical energy in the fuel to power at the wheels. Well, logic and common sense, if you think about it, says that if you improve the conversion between chemical energy to kinetic energy, both performance and fuel economy will go up, and in the process emissions go down. It was like a whole new path of travel for me. So let's fast forward now to today's cars. My 70 Plymouth Duster, well, it just isn't representative of what you're probably driving back and forth to work. You most likely have fuel injection with sophisticated onboard computers and oxygen sensors and mass airflow sensors and all kinds of stuff that add a little bit of complexity to the whole ball game. The good news is that as we get down through the training course here, we're going to get into that, and we're going to show you some at least simplistic ways where you can start addressing that. Now, throughout this course, I have laid out a step-by-step procedure to try to get you from where you are to where I think you can be in this shorter period of time. Over the years, I've interviewed Alan Wallace. I've interviewed Bruce McBurney. In fact, I'm still pretty decent friends with him. A bunch of names you may or may not recognize. I've studied Charles Pogue, Tom Ogle, and a bunch of these other guys and the technologies and just their life stories. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a taste of that in this course. Furthermore, I told you we're going to look into technologies. Now, one of the most controversial technologies that are out there right now is the onboard hydrogen generator. Does it work? Is it a bunch of bunk? Good news is it works. Bad news is, only when done right, most people don't know how to do it right. So guess what? For free, because you just entered your email address in the box and click submit, I'm going to give you some of the secrets that it takes to make onboard hydrogen generators work. And is there such thing as a magic spark plug? Actually, there is. And I'm going to show you a couple of variations of spark plugs where you will see results. And I'm going to show you what is just a bunch of hype and gimmick, and don't waste your money on them. And as far as additives go, you know what? There's probably hundreds of different additives for fuel and oil out there. Now, I can't say that I know everything there is to know about every additive on the market, but I am going to point you in a direction to some additives that I'm willing to endorse, put my name on. They're quality. I've used them, and I don't make any money off of them. That's not what this is about, but I do think that they're good quality products. So you're going to get to meet some movers and shakers through me, of course, from the interviews that I've had with them or from the studies that I've done. You're going to learn about some technologies that are available today. Onboard hydrogen generators being just one example. There's a couple of products that I want to introduce you to that I think are just exceptional value for the money, for what they do, what you get, and we're going to have a good time. So I hope this is not just educational, but I hope it's entertaining, and I hope that I can somehow instill part of that passion that I have in you, that you will really take this seriously, take action, and see for yourself that this is science and not just mythology. Thank you, and in 3 days I'll be coming back to give you the next installment.